What's going on, everyone? So the San Antonio Spurs have it a bit tough. So the opening night is on October 24th. It'll be the opening night for both the Spurs and the Dallas Mavericks. And once again, they are going to open the season playing against each other. So the defending Western Conference winners are taking on the new look San Antonio Spurs. Also, Spurs' schedule is tough. They have the sixth toughest schedule for a team that wasn't even a playoff team. They were one of the worst teams in the league last year. So to go from that to, hey, there's a lot of excitement and hope and, belief that this team can do something, which I do believe that they can. I mean, look, the Western Conference is insanely stacked regardless, right? Everyone in the West has a tough schedule, right? But, there is just based on how it lays out, how it unfolds, how it unpacks, back-to-backs or, certain road trips and all that stuff. All of that can factor into just the difficulty of the schedule, right? But if the Spurs are going to be good enough, they're going to be good enough regardless. Now, personally, this is just me, I don't believe that the Spurs are like a contending team, but could they make the playoffs? I wouldn't put it past them, right? Victor Wembanyama is already incredible. I've said repeatedly, I believe that there was a genuine argument. He was a top 15 player last year, and I just think he's going to be better this year. I also like the roster shape up for the Spurs. Again, I don't really think that it's a championship level roster, but I do think it's a very competitive roster that is going to win some games and is going to really help with the young talent. Right? What Chris Paul is going to do for Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell, and in particular, Victor Wembanyama. I mean, that two-man game, having Victor and Chris Paul is just going to make things so incredibly easy for Victor. Every time he gets established, every time he's open, every time, you're going to be able to run just so many different actions with just Chris Paul and Victor. I think Chris Paul's probably going to get 5 assists a game, and Victor's going to get 10 points a game just on lobs. Right? Chris Paul's just going to put it on the money every time. This is going to be a very fun Spurs team. I do. I think that they're going to be a joy to watch. Like the Spurs last year, right? It was fun to watch because Victor was so great. But even with Victor on the court at times, just because, how many times was Victor wide open or just like had established position and just everybody's just kind of doing their own thing? There were times where the Spurs were just an absolute mess. And it was just like, wow, this is a basketball team, huh? Like I think this year it's going to be a blast to watch. I think you're going to get to see Chris Paul just wheeling and dealing and controlling and, dominating the game from just a point guard position. I think Victor Wembanyama is going to take some real strides, right? I think, already he's the best defense player. I think he wins Defensive Player of the Year next year. I think his impact, I think the motivation he has, the experience he gained from, playing in the Olympics and going to the gold medal games and just the stakes and the pressure and all that stuff. And, you saw how much it meant to him. He's over there just like balling at the end of that game when he lost to the Avengers, which Team USA. And I love that, right? It shows the passion. It shows the frustration. It shows that he wasn't happy with that result, right? Now you get to go to the NBA and translate that, right? And really build that up. I'm curious to see how much does Stephon Castle have an impact out the gate? How much does he even play and stuff, right? But you do, Devin Vassell, can he continue to take strides? Can he kind of take that next step potentially for the Spurs? I think Harrison Barnes is going to be great for the Spurs. I think Harrison Barnes, he's not going to take away from, your young guys that are trying to, make their stamp, but he's also going to be able to play that role seamlessly as like a 3-and-D veteran wing that has championship DNA, was a huge part for that Golden State Warriors in their early championships, right? Like I look at what the Spurs got this offseason and just the potential that's there. And I think they're going to be a very fun, very good. You're going to have to beat the Spurs, right? Like I don't think San Antonio is going to be one of those teams that you just show up and it's like, oh, this like listed as a W. This is a W. Right? Like last year, that's kind of how it was. Right? I think that this team, particularly, I just think Chris Paul's impact is going to be immeasurable. Obviously there's, his win shares, which are like historically great. The guy's everywhere he's gone has in some cases even doubled the team's win percentage. So I just think with Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama, I think that's going to be enough to really make the Spurs just better naturally. Because again, I think Victor's just going to take natural strides. And then Chris Paul, he's going to come in and kind of keep everything in order, keep everything in balance. Obviously, there's injury concerns, particularly with Chris Paul, right? Can Chris Paul stay healthy? Because, this is a guy that has not been a model of health in his later years. But if he can stay on the court, he can play, 65 games at least, something along those lines, I think Spurs are going to be a force. Again, I think that this is a team that you're going to have to beat. You're not just going to be able to come in and it's going to be an easy, like, oh, this cake, this is easy W, right? Like, I think you're going to have to work hard to beat the Spurs. And I think that they're going to beat and upset a lot of teams that people didn't think and expect them to beat and upset. Now, if I had to bet on it, I think the Spurs are at best a play-in team. I think, they're that 7 to 10 range. But I wouldn't be surprised. You get things just kind of just fall your way. You can stay healthy. Victor takes, moves into like the top 10 player-wise. I don't think it's crazy that if they squeeze in and end up getting the 6th seed or something, right? But I also think even if they're a play-in team, I think they could still squeeze in and be a top 8 team, right? And get into the playoffs. And, you get the right matchup. Matchups are everything, especially in the playoffs, right? I mean, we just saw that in this last year's playoffs. Spurs get the right matchups. I don't think it's far-fetched that they're in the conference finals. Again, I wouldn't bet on it. I wouldn't count on it. I don't really think that that's going to happen, if I'm being honest and realistic here. But, again, we saw Atlanta in the conference finals a couple years ago. We saw Dallas before, the changes with Gafford and PJ and Kyrie and all that stuff, where people thought that they were a fringe playoff team and they were in the conference finals. I mean, we've seen some teams get to the conference finals that you didn't expect. Because, again, matchups, things go your way, health. There's just a lot that goes into it. But I think Victor is going to be on a mission this year. I think he's hungry. I think he's motivated. I think he has something to prove. He's got that chip on his shoulder, right? He's coming off of a terrible season with the Spurs. Not his production, but, just a losing season with the Spurs. And then going into France and losing in the gold medal game. And it's like, man, I want to win. You can tell he wants to win. He doesn't want to be a bottom. He doesn't want to be a tanking, bottom-feeding team for 5 years, right? He wants to win. He wants to win championships. This guy is motivated, hungry, and ready to go. And he has the talent to back it up, too. A lot of players that are hungry, motivated, and ready to go, but they just don't have the talent, right? Victor has the talent. Victor is indeed an alien. And I'm really excited to see just his natural progress, but also the progress playing alongside Chris Paul and just this team in general, right? Another year of just growth, development, right? Another year of chemistry together. Again, can Vassell kind of take some strides, take some leaps? Can, Victor, can he take his strides, leaps? What is the Harrison Barnes impact? What is, Chris Paul's impact? You got to be excited. If you're a fan of the Spurs or you're a fan of Victor or whatever, you got to be excited for this, because this is exciting. This is very exciting. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you think that their schedule is tough? Again, 6 toughest. Do you think man, that hurts? That's tough. Do you think it's everyone's got a tough schedule, right? You gotta, especially in the Western Conference, you just gotta play through it. You just gotta figure it out and adapt and overcome, right? And you would think that strength of schedule would be based on where you rank. Why have a bad team have a tougher schedule than they did the previous year, right? I mean, again, Spurs made strides, and I think they're going to be much better, but I don't think they're going to be that much. I don't think they're like, hey, we could have one of the toughest schedules in the league. But I do, in the same breath, again, Western Conference is tough regardless, and they're going to have to win some games regardless. You just take it a step at a time, take it a game at a time, take a moment at a time. But outside of that, what are your thoughts on just this team as a whole? Are you impressed with this team? Are you excited for this team? Do you think that no, this is a real team? What do you think of Chris Paul and his impact? think his impact just overall and just helping develop guys, his impact individually on the court, as well as his impact with Victor Wembanyama. Same thing with Harrison Barnes. What are your thoughts with Harrison Barnes, and how do you think he helps this team and impacts the team? I just like that he won't take away. He doesn't need the ball in his hands. Good off ball, has impact in multiple ways. I really like that with Harrison Barnes. But again, with this team just in general, Devin Vassell, do you think he kind of takes the next step, takes some more strides? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me know, lets me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.